Hi everyone. Today we're going to be marking International Women's Day, and we're joined by two women who work with RFEA, the Forces Employment Charity, both of which support TechVets, and we're going to be talking about how military women, and particularly military wives and partners, and how they can secure rewarding careers and overcome barriers to employment. I'm delighted to welcome Naomi Brown, who's the Head of Business Development with RFEA, and Meredith Grant, who looks after digital marketing for RFEA's TechVets program. Naomi, I'm going to come to you first. Great to have you here. Can you talk us through your current role with RFEA and how you're working with TechVets and how you found that job?
Absolutely, and thank you very much for having me here, James. So I head up the development team within RFEA, and our role as a team is actually to provide sustainability to the programmes which RFEA deliver, and also look for those opportunities of growth, where it's all about relationship building and actually allowing sustainability for the whole programmes as a whole.
And certainly some of the work that you've been doing, Naomi, with me around sort of creating those industry links, especially around funding opportunities so we can keep growing the programme. I mean, that's been pretty exciting.
Absolutely, James. The funding side of things has really grown within TechVets. The opportunity to build those sustainable relationships and actually leapfrog and get the name out there has been fantastic, and it's been truly brilliant to support the programme.
Yeah, tech's always exciting, which is it's always good to dig into the industry, but also, you know, I was doing all of that and not very effectively. You know, you've come in and you've really sort of taken that workload on, but your experience and your skill sets there, I mean, you know, it's so nice to be able to lean on you so heavily for all of that stuff. Thanks. And Meredith, what about yourself with your role with TechVets? Now, clearly we work together most days, and I take up as much of your time as I possibly can. But what's your role with TechVets?
Well, I think I have the best job with TechVets because I'm looking for the success stories, and that means talking to the members, talking to business partners who set up academies or who are coming to TechVets for training, and talking to those business to find case studies of people who have successfully left the military, trained in tech or cybersecurity, and then secured jobs in the real world or the civilian world. And I pull all of that content together digitally, and then that goes on the website and also the social media platforms. And I link up with RFEA's PR team to try and push those good news stories out to attract more people into TechVets.
I think it was always quite interesting. So the moment I started working with Meredith, with you, it was a bit of an eye opener. I mean, I've been doing the marketing stuff myself, and you know, I always like to think I've got a creative eye. But the moment you came in, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much that I'm not doing that I could be doing. And I think that ability to lean on people that are specialists. You know, Naomi and I met with you know, potential industry partnership the other day, and it's so nice to be able to sit there and to be able to say, Naomi, do you want to just take this bit? And likewise, when you came in, it was the ability for me to go, look, here's my stuff, and can you just absolutely butcher it and then redo it in something that works really well? But I think, you know, the two roles that you both fulfill are so important, because if I'm ever a specialist in the room, I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. So essentially, what I need to be able to do is to lean on your expertise to be able to deliver stuff. But it's been so much fun as well, because learning this stuff from you both has been incredible. And you've got such, you know, incredible backgrounds as well, which takes me on to the next bit. And I'm going to chuck this straight back at Naomi. It would be good to get a bit of an understanding of your background, and considering this is about, you know, International Women's Day and essentially showcasing that success, but that never comes without the challenges. And, you know, interesting background, you know, with your military experience as a military spouse as well, and now clearly working with TechVets to help more people get into tech careers. Can you explain a bit more about some of your background?
Absolutely. So I joined the Army Apprentice College back in the day, and I will give a shout out to my intake 94C, because we were the last intake to graduate off the square before it closed down, and we know what it is now. but it was great. It was an absolute fantastic opportunity for me to really build those fantastic relationships with people who we are still lifelong friends with now. But joining the Royal Signals, I kind of felt that it wasn't where I needed to be, and there was an opportunity a few years later for me to transfer over to the Intelligence Corps, which I absolutely took the opportunity, and it was really, I kind of find my place there, which was fantastic. I learned fantastic skills, which stayed with me throughout my career, and actually later in life I've really leant back on them, which has been brilliant. The biggest challenges for me I found was meeting my husband. He also serves, and actually
nothing against him. He wasn't the challenge. But what came after?
The challenge was when we started a family was that choice of who stays and who leaves, because it was incredibly difficult at that time for both of us to serve, and the added factor as well that we were both living in Germany, again through a different mix into it. So when we decided that my husband would stay and I would leave, it was great. I transitioned from doing my day job into being a mum, and that was wonderful. But actually it wasn't probably until another 12 months later where it actually hit home to me that transition for me was actually quite difficult, because I'd gone to being somebody who made decisions, ran a small team, and actually was incredibly useful, to all of a sudden I was solely responsible for this little person, and that kind of became my world, and I was known as my husband's other half, and that was incredibly difficult for me to see, just to accept the changes that I needed to go through. But I had a fantastic friend who I also served with, and she did a full career and has landed a fantastic job within the city, and she was a fantastic mentor to me at the time where I needed it most. And she said to me, just hold your time will come. And actually what I've realised is, once my two children have grown up and they're taking those decisions and making the early steps on adulthood themselves, that actually life has allowed me to step back into that workplace and really go for it full time, which has been fantastic. So my advice and my challenges it is difficult trying to find that work-life balance with a family, but actually when time allows, your time will come back around again, and I've certainly taken that forward.
I suppose as well. I mean, the issue with having after you left, the issue with having someone serving is clearly that they can't just turn around and say, "Look, sorry, MOD, but I'm not doing it this week. My wife's going to have a go at being the career person." It just doesn't work, does it? So I suppose that, I mean, it's just such a stopping block for your freedom, your independence, and your agency to essentially go out there and do stuff. But I mean. And you were telling me the other day that you set up your own business as well.
I did.
It must be so much hard work.
It was incredible. I realised that going back into the workplace, actually, I was accepting jobs that fitted in with life, but they didn't necessarily match my skills, my capabilities, but I just had to accept that at the time. So I thought, I'm not happy with this. So I created something which, first of all, interested me. Secondly, fitted in with military life. So I set up an online company, and I produced clothing, printed in clothing, which was brilliant. But to the external world, nothing changed. I was the face of it. Everything happened, but I'd moved 3 times within that period, and actually it was a business which created that I could move around, which fitted in with military life, and I built up some incredible partnerships, and I bid for some really big contracts, and I was able to win them, which was great. But to the external world, they didn't know which I moved, and actually that for me was the biggest sort of game changer, that I could do this on my own, and nobody needed to know that I was a military spouse, and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, Kerry and I, my wife, we've been together years, and actually it's only been the last couple of years that she's been able to get back into the swing of things and kick-started her career again, having had to unfortunately follow me around everywhere. But there is that pressure on, the person in the military. There's a restriction around how flexible that person can be, but also sometimes if that partner or the spouse hasn't had that opportunity, has been part of that sort of gig economy, then they're going to be the big earner. So when they leave the military, it doesn't really stop, because arguably that person is the big sort of breadwinner, I suppose, for making sure the bills are paid and for keeping that sort of standard of life. But I mean, look, you clearly used the sort of online aspect to make it work, which is, I mean, that's just essentially why TechVets are here. Meredith, now again, yours is relatively similar in the sense that you served, and you're in the reserves. You're a military spouse, but at the same time, again, you are a business owner, and I know that you're fairly busy because some of the conversations that we have around TechVet stuff are sort of 10 o'clock at night. And we're both still going, but usually you're pretty flat out, and you've got a family as well. Talk to us a bit about your background.
So my background was always journalism. That was always my first love. Since I was probably 7, I wanted to write. I wanted to be a journalist. I went through uni, went through the postgrad, ended up working, for ITN and in Sky News, but at the same time as a reservist. So I got called up to go to Iraq as a combat camera team leader, and that kind of sparked a kind of passion in me to use my 20s a bit more wisely. When I look back at the newsroom at the time, it was day in, day out. It was, the stories were always different, but the opportunity to kind of travel, meet new people, access new skills, learn. It was just the opportunities the military gave me through the reserves was just phenomenal. And I ended up going to Iraq twice and Afghanistan and lots of different places in between. But I think the thing that I absolutely loved about it was just meeting people. And I think it's made me a better person because I've spent time with people that I would have never spent time with from all walks of life. And it just, those soft skills, just as a reservist that I got, when you kind of think of people who, are in the military full time, that experience is just pure gold when, they're getting out. And I met my husband and I got, we got married, and a bit like Naomi, I found myself in North Devon, miles away from any kind of media outlet, looking for jobs. And I just started thinking, this isn't going to work for me. Like I'm either going to undersell myself and feel like I'm just not getting my teeth into anything. And I knew that I'd be unfulfilled if I did that. And so I set up my own company which I'm really glad I did. I just started off freelancing at first. So really like low level, a few hours here and there, a day here and there. And as we moved and then had a family, I just kept it ticking over because I always wanted to keep my skills current. Yeah. But it was very minimal at that point. And then, in the 11 years we've been married, we've moved 10 times and had 4 kids. And it's only really been in the last kind of 2 years that I've thought, okay, now's the time just to scale up a bit more, just to give us more options as a family. Because if my other half wants to leave, then I want to be able to say to him, if you want to leave, it's okay. You have the choice, you have the option, because we now have another income stream that is enough to sustain us. And I think that to our family is quite important, having those options and choices.
Yeah, I think so. Clearly we're going to be opening up all of our services to the partners and spouses, and clearly we're open to females who are serving by default. But I think that I really wanted to place an emphasis on the fact that we have people, role models like the pair of you who are now working in IT, and your side of stuff is a little bit more technical, or in the more technical field now, but Naomi, your role as well is so incredibly important that people understand that there are less technical roles as well. You do still need to have digital skills. You're using a CMS. You're using technology on a daily basis to automate processes and to help to manage that relationship building that you're doing externally. And Meredith clearly on the search engine optimization and the sort of digital marketing front, being creative online. But making sure that you understand things like websites and social media. It's clear that there are so many opportunities for people. And when I look back at, I say my poor wife, but I shouldn't do, because she's incredibly talented and so much more than me. And she's had to manage a house and, exactly as you've had to do, and have that sort of bit of a disruption with her career. But at the same time, I look back to those challenges that she had, that clearly we shared together, But I was, on the selfish side of the fence, I was never the one that was impacted directly. But she had to take those gig economy roles. At times it was a case you'd move to a new location, and especially when we moved to Northern Ireland, because she couldn't just jump into a job. She had to be careful because the security implications there. There was still an issue around telling people that you were in the military, and you were still checking under your car for devices and stuff. So she had to understand enough of the military, but at the same time try to go out and make some money so we had a better standard of life. And I think that's sometimes that's a bit of an extreme on the obstacles, but it's got to be incredibly challenging for spouses and partners moving around and not necessarily being able to keep that sort of string going throughout that defined career path.
I think the point that Naomi made about knowing that your time will come is really important, because a lot of my friends who are military spouses do feel frustrated, but at the same time they're making the use of the time now by retraining and upskilling in courses, so that when their time comes, they can go after those jobs or just start building up slowly, because it doesn't happen overnight. We've now got a team of 6 who I manage, who work with me, and but that hasn't happened in that's taken long hours and time and really just biding time, because also family has to take priority when your partner is away a lot and you're the sole provider of emotional, physical, food, washing, ironing support. Then it has to be the right time without putting too much pressure on yourself, I think.
Yeah, super employable as well, given that you just mentioned some of those, but managing a household, managing a family, you're head of finance for your household as well. I used to have to chuck all the stuff across, make sure there were shared accounts. Kerry just managed the whole lot, and you've been through that. But I suppose that the challenges aren't just for those partners and spouses as well. There is an emphasis on less females going into more technical roles or information technology roles in general, when they're leaving the military. And some have come from backgrounds like yours, Naomi, from the signals, but they don't tend to follow those technical career paths forward. Now you have, to an extent, because you've taken that knowledge of IT, but you've taken all those soft skills, and you're now in a position where without you I wouldn't be growing the program. And your understanding of those tech companies now, but also your day-to-day job of using a digital platform to manage all those relationships. So you have taken some of those skills, but we're seeing possibly 1% of the females leaving the military going into information technology careers. Is there something that we can be doing more to support them?
Yes, we have, as an RFEA, one of our programs is the Military Women program, and I have to say we have a fantastic advisor who delivers, on the ground, face-to-face career support and advice to military women who are leaving the forces. And actually, it's really great that we've got such a fantastic opportunity for people to receive that one-to-one career advice, CV support. But actually, by increasing the awareness of this program, more women will come forward and use the program, and through the advisor, they can have direct access into TechVets as well, and really take that next step forward to stretch on their career, to really use those fantastic transferable skills. And actually, with having an advisor which understands the challenges that military women have, it's like gold dust. It's an opportunity for you to grow and to move forward with something really meaningful. And again, to have that second career, that second income as a household is incredibly important. Yeah,
and I think, and the other program as well that we have that clearly we need to mention here, because what's really important is to maximise that quality of life and that economic output for a family, a serving family. So for the partners and spouses, they also get supported with the RFEA Families Programme.
Absolutely, and we have an incredible team with our Families Programme, and I must say, we've got a national footprint there. But again, you have one-to-one, face-to-face career advice and support. And I must say, you don't have to, it's not once, you can go back at multiple times through your career as well, which I think is brilliant. And James, I just wanted to make the point as well that, through the Families programmes, we do work with Forces Families Jobs, and Forces Families Jobs is a tri-service platform, and they work with Forces friendly employers, and there are jobs on there which are brilliant for the military community as a whole, but in particular for the spouses. And I must admit, with COVID, it's really sort of broken that mould of when you're moving around, actually you can keep your job, which has been brilliant. And we're seeing more and more jobs come forward which suit that transient military lifestyle. And that's, military families are able to, to negotiate, keep that job and actually do some working from home days, which allows the opportunity for that person, A, to grow, and B, to still have a job which they incredibly love and have that opportunity to grow, so which has been brilliant.
Yeah, and I think, which takes us to, I suppose, the sort of real $64 million question. And that is, why? Why would people want to employ, these partners and spouses? What skills do they bring? And for me, I'm looking at this daily for people that are serving. And there's a huge overlap in the soft skills area for the partners and spouses as well. They're incredibly resilient. They deal with change. I mean, Meredith, you mentioned earlier that you've moved about 600 times, and all whilst doing everything you're doing. So to be able to deal with change in that way is incredible. And again, when you're juggling multiple things at once, you've got to be able to go to a new area, reach out and create relationships, whether it's getting that relationship in the new school, reaching out to local employers, whatever it may be, building that new community that you're now a part of. So I think in the soft skills department, there's incredible overlap there with transferable skills that we would ordinarily place on those that serve. But then what sort of career paths are available to them? As much as I would like to say all of them, we have to manage expectations that you can't. And as I do with the serving people, you can't just jump into a full-on cybersecurity career. But there are other options, and as you mentioned, Naomi, the ability to work remotely or even hybrid is an incredible opportunity. So digital skills are really important. Meredith, in your experience with your profession, clearly there are routes in to digital marketing and comms, etc. What's the best options for them?
I think the best options for people to start with are free courses. Because actually there are some amazing free courses put out there by LinkedIn, HubSpot, SEMrush, just so many that will actually really give you a good introduction, but also give you an idea of where you want to be, so where your strengths are. Not everyone is wanting to look at data and analytics in about SEO all day. Other people will want to be on Canva designing, and again, Canva have a great academy which is free. And I think kind of pulling those skills together and then reaching out to an organization like the RFEA for guidance thereafter and looking for job opportunities is a brilliant way forward. And the beauty of a digital job is that it's not a 9 to 5. You were talking earlier about me kind of messaging you at 10 at night and things like that, and it's because if you want to go and watch your kids play sports in the afternoon, or you need to take them to a club after school, you can, because you just get the work done around life. And that's why it's just the perfect sector to go into for military partners.
Yeah, and I think what I quite liked is the broad spectrum of opportunities as well. And I think, we get a lot of military people, when they're leaving the military, the first thing they're thinking of is hardcore cyber stuff, because there's this misconception that it's all about hacking and hoodies and 65 monitors and all this sort of stuff. And people see stuff on the films, but the breadth of opportunities within information technology, whether these wives and partners want to embark on training, once we go live at the end of the month, to embark on training to become information security specialists, cyber specialists, whatever it may be, but it may be that they want to do more SEO based stuff or social media work. But in your field as well, Naomi, just the ability to have digital skills, it just greatly enhances your employability. Everywhere needs digital skills now. even people running market stalls are using electronic payment systems. Most stuff that we have within HR is becoming automated using, some form of either coding or most likely these days the low-code platforms, like the Pega stuff we've partnered with. But with you, you've had to learn, how to use, for example, Salesforce, and it can be an incredibly complex platform, and you do need to have the skills and develop those skills. But that must be an empowering sort of point to get to once you've got those skills and you are in that role automating processes.
Absolutely, and it's really good to keep up with the times as well, and always push yourself to learn, because actually you can take that forward in life. But I've really enjoyed it, challenging myself again, and actually keeping up with the times digitally has been incredibly useful, to help me progress further in my career. So I would really recommend, and touch on Meredith's point there about using those free courses out there. Take what's on offer and really build up your set of skills, because it will put you in good stead going forward.
I'm chuffed you added in a few sort of top tips there. Meredith, if you've got a few tips to hand out to people based on your lived experience, what would they be?
They would be just to, when you move to a new area, just get stuck in. And if you do want to get into the digital, social media marketing, and you've done those basic skills, striking up a relationship with a local business, a startup, or just an independent who might need some support, offering, work for free for a couple of weeks just to kind of show your skills, I think knowing that you're not going to be earning the big money straight away is okay, because you just have to build up a portfolio. But once you've got a portfolio, it then opens so many doors. And it's really kind of, my top tip would be just to keep fighting for it. If you want to build a career for yourself that you can move around, it's going to be hard work. But if you set your mind on it and just start small and just keep plugging away, you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah. I think with the experience that they all of you have to go through as military spouses, whether you've served previously or not, I think there is so much there to start on as a foundation with the soft skills that people have built and that sort of lived and professional experience. And I think, to take your point further, it is incredibly important to understand that yes, you're not going to jump into it, or you may do, but it's unlikely that you're going to jump into a 70, 80k a year job straight away, and it may just be slim pickings at the first 6 months. But actually, once you've got those skills and you started that career ladder, actually you've got a sustainable career that's never going to go. And I think that's the one beauty about working within IT, is that whether you are doing the sort of administrative, business development and business support type roles, project management, IT project management stuff, all the way through to being a software engineer, these careers mean that you're never going to be without a job after that, because the experience that you're building, the skills that you're developing, and clearly the whole time you're going to have RFEA behind you, whether that's through the families program, through the military women's program, or clearly directly through TechVets as well, to support you with that upskilling and those career opportunities. But I mean, it's probably a really good place for us to wind this up. But a huge thanks to both of you. It's very rare that I get the pleasure of putting you both on camera. It's me and my boring voice just rattling on. But to be able to share your experience that you have, the challenges that you've gone through, and the success that you've made, it is incredibly empowering for others that may be considering, the what next, or may just be in a slump thinking, I'm always the one that's left behind. I'm always the one that is, that's such and such his wife, rather than being the more dominant career-driven professional in the household. Not that there's nothing wrong with being the stay-at-home mum, but people that want these careers, great to see that you two can stand there as, albeit virtually, as those role models of how you can get through these challenges and get this success. So thanks very much for joining us. And for everyone, if you want any more information about RFEA, then you can visit their website. All the programs are on there. Or if you're interested in IT, you can come direct to the TechVets website as well. If you've got any questions, team@techvets.co. It's just .co, and hopefully we'll get those answered as soon as possible.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Take care.